Well, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back for another episode of the Chamber Podcast. I am Rob Johnson, and joining me in the studio today is our friend Max Muncey from LaFontaine Automotive Group. Welcome, sir.
Rob, thanks for having me today on a beautiful sunny afternoon.
For once.
Ooh, it's a rare occasion.
Can you believe it? So you can come back every week.
I'm ready. Let's do it.
So, the communications department, communications group, a fairly large umbrella for a company the size of LaFontaine. So I guess just for the listeners, because you were educating me in the pre-show a little bit, just talk about the size and scope of LaFontaine, and then I want to dive a little bit more into yourself and how you got involved with that group as well.
No, that's perfect. I'm really blessed for the opportunity, right? The communications realm gets to touch pretty much every department in the dealership. So a lot of touching, right? A lot of hands-on activity, a lot of conversations, and a lot of exciting growth for our group. So currently stand at 29 dealerships across the state of Michigan. And what we're most proud of is have over 2,100 family members as part of our organization. So really a lot of substantial growth, all here in the state of Michigan, starting back in 1980 when Mike and Maureen LaFontaine founded our first store, a Toyota store in Dearborn, which if we think back, 1980, opening a Toyota store in Dearborn, right? The birthplace and the backyard of Ford Motor Company.
Sounds logical.
Probably was an uphill battle, but I think we all look back and reflect on that, and that really got us to where we are today because we had to fight out of the gate, had to really earn the customer's trust, earn their business, and then earn the respect of the community and the peers around us. And I think our track record over the last 40-odd years have proven that great owner-operator, phenomenal family in the LaFontaines, blessed to work for them and underneath their vision and leadership, and looking forward to the conversation today.
Absolutely. Well, going back to 1980, when you opened a Toyota dealership in, essentially Ford country.
Yes.
Sometimes it's the people that break the mold that get the most attention because they're not following the script. So I think that's sometimes a rather genius way to go about it because you're doing something different. Obviously, there's been a little bit of success with that, with having over 2,100 employees and nearly 30 stores. Like those are tremendous numbers. So I'm curious to go into your background and learn how you got involved with this group, and then kind of what a day in the life looks like for you.
Yeah, would love it. So I've been a automotive aficionado and gearhead my entire life. Grew up in a GM household. So my dad worked at General Motors for 44 years. Grew up him bringing company cars home and me literally just sitting in the driveway, have memories of just reading the owner's manual, which back in the day, right, was a big booklet that came in the glove box. And I'd sit there and read it. And I just have been always infatuated with vehicles, and nothing better than the sound of an engine starting or the smell of a car and everything. I'm smiling thinking about it, right? And then as you start to go through life and figure out what's next steps, what's your job going to be, your career you're looking for, quickly realized that being an engineer would not be my cup of tea. Math and numbers are definitely not a strong suit. So I had to figure out how to kind of channel that passion automotive I have, but engineering just wasn't going to be the field. And had a good friend of my dad's who was a little older than me that did automotive, public relations and communications. Kind of job shadowed him, and then went into college majoring in public relations, and since then have done automotive my entire career. I've worked at agency side, representing tier 1 suppliers and industry associations. Prior to joining LaFontaine, had the opportunity to work for the Detroit Auto Dealers Association, and we put on a small little show called the North American International Auto Show, or Detroit Auto Show, to the hometowners here. And that was just an amazing opportunity to meet others in the industry and grow. And we're fortunate enough to have Ryan LaFontaine be our chairman in 2018. Actually was the youngest chairman the show has had in its 107-year history. The PR guy and the chairman, you pretty much become locked at the hip together, right? For better or for worse. So luckily, I think we kind of hit it off, and we had a great relationship. And after his chairmanship was done, and I have 2 little girls at home, a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old, now they are, and his just focus on family and the commitment to his employees, and he's got a big vision, right? He's looking 5-10 years ahead of where we want to go in the industry, and it was just awe-inspiring to me to watch him command a room and to have this vision. And if anybody played sports, in high school or collegiate, he was that coach that would give you the speech and then you would run through a wall after, right? I mean, He is so motivating, both him and Kelly and the family, and just became really in love with the vision, and had met Ryan after, and we talked about it, and then joined the group now after his chairmanship. And it's been a whirlwind 4 years, a lot of growth, a lot of acquisition, a lot of fun times. And I think we've currently lived through the craziest 2 years of not only a global pandemic, but part shortages, chip shortages, you name it. But it's been great to see growth through the adversity as well, too.
Yeah, when you mentioned coming in 2018, and then obviously in 2020 that kicked off a series of events that I don't really think anyone was particularly prepared for, that gives, I would imagine, would give you a unique perspective into how to handle your job from a communications point of view. When you're looking at, we have chip shortages and inventory, and then we have contact issues in terms of how close can we get.
Yes.
That just presents a bunch of, and I always call them opportunities, but that's a different way to approach the game, because now everything is changing. Now we have to rewrite this rule book based on where we currently stand. And what was that like for you?
I think you hit it right. They are opportunities, right? Ryan LaFontaine and Kelly LaFontaine often speak to us that we can't control what happens outside of our four walls, right? And that applies to many people. And I think fundamentally you're like, yeah, I get that, right? Okay, we can't. But when you really start to have these just massive industry problems, right? And global pandemic, and on top of all that happening around you, I think you can get beat down a lot of the time,
Sure.
right? And you're watching this business that you've grown and it's on a great track record. All of a sudden, right, you're almost hitting a pause button. I mean, right, in 2020, we were mandated to close for a certain amount of time through mandate and the government, and you start to kind of pause for a second. And they would tell you, though, that they're very adamant that through those trying times, right, you find strength and you see who you really are. And for us as an organization and a company, we were really able to take that, 4 weeks of downtime, and as opposed to just sitting around and waiting to get the green light, I think we'd all admit we were busier in those 4 weeks of planning, because you really had a pause, right? Customers weren't coming into the building.
Sure.
Cars weren't getting delivered. It was a pause, but we took the pause to get really aggressive, to get better at the things that we had been wanting to do, and to get some stuff off of the shelf that probably would have sat there in any normal year. And when it came to pick up and delivery for guests, we came out of the gate strong with that, because to your point, right, individuals are a little apprehensive of going out and talking to people and seeing people face to face. So let's take that barrier out right away. Yeah. Whether you need an oil change or getting a new vehicle or a pre-owned vehicle, we'll bring it to your house. We'll pick up your vehicle for you. So offering that to guests, talking a lot more, communicating about digital retailing, how you can go on a website and purchase a car, which seems wild, right? And I love my Amazon and I get groceries delivered. Still, the idea of, clicking and having a car show up at the door is a new experience, but we're trying to educate the guests on that, right? Communicating with them of they can do so much more research online. And then, yes, still we'd love to welcome you into our dealership, right? And have you still test drive at multiple models and find what fits you correctly. But it was a lot of communicating. And then to your point, a lot of communicating with guests and customers that just had questions.
Yeah.
My lease is up. I have no idea what to do. How do I turn in a lease when I can't come into your business? How do I order a car when we're not making cars? And so
or the car that I want isn't available.
Yep.
So how do we maneuver around this?
And we really flipped the script, right? We developed an internal team. We call them our LaFontaine concierge team. So that team's sole purpose is just to be a resource for guests. No matter what you call in with, that team's there to help you. Whether you're heading up north with your family and you want to get a bike rack on the back of your vehicle, we can help you look at options. We can help you install that. Many just fundamental questions about just vehicle ownership that traditionally may not fall onto a dealership. And during that period, we got really aggressive in the market with letting our guests know, just reach out with a question. We have a team of resources here available to help you, and we want to make sure you're comfortable and educated through that process. And it was communicating with our local businesses as well too, which was huge for us because everybody was going through this, right? Yeah. And I guess fortunately with some scale that we have and size, that sometimes it's a little easier to withstand a major storm like we were going through than just a small, mom and pop local business owner in, Anytown, USA Main Street. And so we worked with the local business owners and bought gift cards from restaurants to pass out to first responders and healthcare heroes, and really just tried to, take this trying time and turn it into a positive and have the right attitude through that. And I think through all of that, we've been stronger. Our group is more nimble and better prepared for whatever comes at us next, which the running joke is we all know there'll be something down the road, just who knows what that is. And hopefully it could just give us a little bit of breathing room in between.
Sure. That'd be nice. I think a lot of businesses would appreciate
Yes.
some downtime, so to speak, from worldwide pandemics. That would be nice. So focusing in on kind of the community aspect. So I'm a firm believer that businesses that operate within a local community ought to be members of that local community. And we were talking a little bit in the pre-show about LaFontaine and how you guys you've taken that very seriously. That's been a very core part. It's one of your verticals of the company to make sure that you have a presence within that community. So talk a little bit about that if you can.
It's really a cornerstone of our entire corporation. I would say one of the key factors in our success and growth over the last 40 years is our community focus. And that really started with Maureen LaFontaine, right? And so her and Mike had the Toyota store in Dearborn in 1980. 1984, Maureen had the opportunity to get her a Pontiac Buick GMC store in downtown Milford. A tiny, tiny little store in downtown Milford, and she was going to be the dealer principal. Store had sold roughly 40 cars the year prior. Now, preface that with, I'm not good with math and numbers, but I'll tell you, selling 40 cars in a year probably is going to keep the light on. She set out to meet every individual in the community, business owners, chambers, associations, just residents, introduce herself. I'm Maureen LaFontaine and what we're going to do in the community. Fast forward now to today, we have an entire grassroots marketing team that each store within our group has a dedicated individual that their sole focus is to be connected and ingrained in their local community, whether that be participation in chambers, associations, or just aligning themselves with nonprofits or happenings in the community that better the community for the residents and businesses alike. And Kelly LaFontaine today really spearheads all of our grassroots and philanthropic efforts for the group. I would say, I think in general, right, dealers are a fairly philanthropic business organization in general, right? They sponsor Timmy's T-ball team or Molly's soccer team, and they get their logo on there. And for us, it's so much more than writing a check, right? Certainly, financial responsibility or financial support is important to a lot of organizations, but we really want that hands-on connection to them. So volunteerism in the community, we really try to take it to another level. And I think that makes us better stewards of the community and allows other people to feel a true connection with us. They see us out and about at things that matter to them, right? And it's not at the community event to sell or service your car. We just want to support the local community. And it's a really key thing for us and one that makes me really proud to see when you look on the weekend and you get on Facebook or social media and you see so many of your colleagues on their day off out in the community supporting other organizations or initiatives that are important to them that ultimately matter to us as well as an organization.
Yeah. Well, it's tremendous. And one thing that I look at a lot in the sustainability of businesses, especially over COVID, has been this idea that whatever you say that you do online, whatever you represent, needs to match how you operate within the walls of your operation, right? So if you say, hey, we do all of this nonprofit work and we are super transparent, and if you call our concierge team, they'll definitely help you out, and then someone calls and it's a complete opposite of what you said, that's the quickest way to damage a reputation as a business. So you guys are fully aware of that. And I'm just curious, what has that been like? What's the response been like since you've been there since 2018 of seeing this really nice representation online and then people actually seeing that when they come through the door?
You know, I think, right, I have the ability to see every time our company's mentioned online, right? So every Google review, Facebook review, internal audit survey, I have the opportunity to see all of that, right? And some of it's really eye-opening and also it's very rewarding, right? When you see an individual that literally just said, I saw you in the community this weekend helping out at this event. Thank you for that. They didn't even buy or service a car with us, right? And I think the attention that you need to pay to the customer and their experience is spot on, right? Because anybody can go online. I can go buy commercials and say, we're doing this in the community, or come in and see this. And then that individual comes in and they don't have that experience. And it's not only bad for them, it's bad for the word of mouth that will happen after that, right? So we really need to understand what our guests are looking for and make sure we're giving them options as well too. And I think we've seen that through this past 2 years, that people want want options, right? Not everybody wants to come in and, let's say, go through your traditional car buying experience, which I don't think it's traditional anymore, but that we're going to go into a dealership, plan on being there all day, go through multiple cars, multiple paperwork, and be done, right? And we realize that's not how it has to be, right? There's new players in the market. I don't need to name any of these new brands that have come out there that are that put commercials during the Super Bowl that aren't that appealing to dealers, right? But then I go online and I read the experience that their actual guests are talking about, and it's polar opposite, to your point, than what they're saying online or how they're portraying their business. And so I think we need flexibility, and we really have to care at the end of the day, right? We're in a people business. We're maybe a large group, but every person matters to us that walks in our door that decides to do business with us. There's a lot of options, right? On my drive here today, I'll probably pass another dozen dealerships on the way, right? So why does somebody come to LaFontaine versus somewhere else? I largely think it's trust and transparency and that experience they're looking to get.
Yeah, and it's precision. That's another thing that's often missed in the dynamic of a business is precision. So when you look at ease, right, people, I think, in the automotive industry over leverage ease. It's so easy. It's 2 clicks, and then we deliver this car and drop it off, and that's it. It's like, well, that's not it. Like there's more than that. And if you set the expectation that that's all it's going to be, and then when you go to actually execute it, it's like, well, now there's paperwork, there's insurance, there's credit verification, there's bank loans, there's credit checks, there's all these things that go into it that you did not mention in your commercial.
Yeah,
that's what shatters the illusion. So to your point, when you talk about accuracy and honesty, those are the things that people care about. And when they have that experience the first time, odds are they're not going to want to go somewhere else because they've had the good experience on round one.
Right. And I think, right, we've really seen through the pandemic, and I'd say the last 5 years, right, more and more people want to do business with businesses that they're aligned with.
Sure.
It's not so much a financial decision. Certainly that factors in. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
But if there's a business that's selling a product or service that you need, and the business is also aligned with maybe some of your life goals or your wants or needs, I think there's better harmony in that, right? There's better synergy. So we're constantly looking and talking to our guests and working in the community to see what matters to individuals in our community. Is it a dog park, right? Which seems funny, right? A dealership putting in a dog park. But if that betters the community, well, maybe it's behoove of us to look into a dog park, right? And
sure.
That's one example of many things, right? But I think it all boils back to the community aspect, right? And when we have 2,100 family members that live across our local communities, and they're out and about in town, and they have friends and neighbors and businesses that they shop with, right? It's an army and a team that we're building, and we're building it, I think, the right way as well too, and really having advocates that have the best interests in mind, not only for the LaFontaine family and our business, but for their community as well too.
Love it. Love it. So let's shift gears a little bit to
no pun intended there.
Yeah, right. Yes, no pun intended. Yes. So let's talk a little bit about recruiting for a minute. So right now, in the position I'm in, I interview people regularly. And so I see what the job market's like. And it's a very unique time in American history, as I feel like more power is positioned to the people that are on the employee side of the table than are on the employer side of the table because of the choice. People can go to many different places, and they can look at many different opportunities. And right now there's such an emphasis being put on what is corporate culture like, and how is this culture going to suit me, which is rightfully so. It presents an interesting opportunity for businesses that have done things a certain way for a long time. So now businesses that have always focused on, you should be lucky to have a job here, now they're much more focused on how can we make this culture something that people actually want to be a part of. So with where you guys are at right now, talk to me a little bit about the recruiting process at LaFontaine and how you guys work towards building that team up over where you're currently at with 2,100 people.
No, I appreciate that, Rob. And I think the culture is paramount, right?
Yeah.
You can make X salary or whatever, but if the culture is toxic or is not oriented in the way that you want, I don't think there's any amount of money out there that's going to keep somebody to stick around through a day in and day out toxic work environment, right? Or culture. I mean,
absolutely.
Very true, right?
Absolutely.
And so for us, it literally boils down to culture, right? And that family focused atmosphere, right? And I will tell you, as a dad with 2 little girls, who one has a choir concert tonight, I'm going to be at the choir concert, right? And I think that's across the board, and that's something that, right, Ryan LaFontaine and Kelly LaFontaine and the family themselves have instilled from the top down, right? Ryan's very active. Kelly's children are a little older now and out of the house. Ryan has 5 kids, right? And I think all under the age of 13. He's very busy.
There's an event or two going on there. Sure.
Right. But between football or you name it, he's at those events.
Yeah.
And then when you can see that, hey, we may be in a meeting and Ryan or Kelly are like, hey guys, in the next 30 minutes, I got to run out because I got to get to so-and-so's event tonight. That's empowering, right? To know that, wow, if the owners of the company are prioritizing family first,
yeah.
It's not just a slogan, right? It's not on our careers page, family first, right? It's really put into practice, and that culture is huge. And we've luckily been recognized by Automotive News and other kind of benchmark publications on our culture, and been honored to be named best place to work, best place for millennials, best place for female employees. So all of that, right, helps build the foundation to your first question of recruiting, right? And it's paramount. We're going to continue to grow, right? But if you asked Ryan LaFontaine why we continue to grow, it's because we have the people to continue to grow. And people are paramount, right? They're our greatest asset. And we've seen time and time again where we're growing to develop that individual, that we didn't have a spot for them. And I'm laughing when I'm saying this, that we're going to go out and find a new dealership so you can continue to grow your career.
Sure.
And it's amazing to say, but I have multiple examples where the family constantly is promoting within. We've had individuals that have started at our dealership as a porter and now are general managers. Yeah. Started out as a parts driver, executive general managers, right? And maybe that career path isn't for everybody, but recruiting for us has been paramount, especially over the last few years as we've had this shift in the industry, right? And still our focus is yes, we need sales professionals that are passionate and excited about it. Our big void right now, and I think I could speak for every other dealer in the United States, are technicians. There's a massive technician shortage nationally. I could look across, Rob, right now and look in the eyes and tell you that I could hire 250 technicians today and still not meet the demand that we have for our company.
But just at LaFontaine?
Just at LaFontaine.
Really? Wow.
250 technicians today I could hire.
What do you think the main reason for the shortage is right now?
I think as we've started to unpack this and we really dialed it back to the ground level, right? So we're now working with high schools, get that back at the high school level, being hands-on with their shop classes, which very, very few high schools have a trade school or a shop class associated with them. So we've partnered with a handful of high schools around the state of Michigan, which that's a long lead thing, right? I'm not going to graduate a kid out of high school tomorrow and he's going to be a master technician the day after. But we're starting at that level because it is such a problem and a gap. And I think that culturally people always thought that a technician is a very, very hard, very dirty job. But yet you go into some of my service lanes and my service shops and you see it's radically different, right? I mean, cars are so much more software and technology based than mechanically based in the past, right? And so we have technicians nowadays that are software troubleshooting, right? When you look at EVs and the advent of that transformation will happen in the industry, it's re-engaging and getting people excited, both at the high school level, we're working with trade schools at the college level, and then at the high school level too, getting parents excited, right? I think if you asked a lot of parents and you said, okay, hey, your son or daughter is going to become an automotive technician, they're like, okay, well, that's good, but, maybe we could look at, something else. And when we can look at them and show them the career path that we can provide and the 6-figure income that those individuals can earn, and we're doing some unique stuff too, right? We're instituting a 4-day work week for our technicians as an option for them so they can rock out their work in 4 days and then have 3 days to tend to life and family and everything else. And that's been a massive transformation. We have not seen another dealership group go to that level. Very competitive pay plans and stuff, but ultimately it boils down to culture, right? And we need those advocates out. We always talk to our technicians that I'm sure you guys know somebody else, right? That wrenches or works somewhere else in the industry. And if you're excited and passionate about showing up every day to your job, how do we get those individuals to welcome and come into our family as well too? But it's constantly focused on culture and which is a big thing as we've grown, right? As you mentioned, right? From one store to 29 rooftops and growing, Ryan and the family talk about culture a lot, right? And the focus on not losing our way. And that, I proudly say we're a small family-owned business. And then you rattle off some stats and it appears we're not a small family-owned business anymore, but that culture and how it feels,
right,
it still feels very small, very family-oriented. And I think for individuals, the family-focused culture is extremely important to them. Whether you have kids or not, it's that work-life balance respect that we're truly trying to deliver to somebody.
Yeah. And that is one thing that is difficult to find scale at, is scaling small business values throughout multiple locations. But apparently it's something that you guys have excelled at. So hats off on that.
It's a day in, day out process, right? It's not a set it and forget it.
No, right. Well, if it was, then you wouldn't be successful.
No,
because it needs daily attention.
Daily attention, daily monitoring, and even as we've grown and acquired new stores, right? It's quickly we have to get those new teammates up to speed, right?
Right.
Not all of them have had the opportunity to meet the family that understand our track record, right? I think sometimes we acquire a new store and it can be daunting at first. They're like, oh, this big company's going to come in and it's going to change everything. And then we get in there and they're like, wait, hold on. Like, you just made my job easier. You're able to invest in tools or technologies or better my building, or now I can reach and touch more people. And then they see the culture and we talk to them about it, right? And to your point, it's easy to talk about culture. It's a lot harder to actually put that into practice day in and day out and stay true to that culture. And I think that's one thing that sets us apart from others is we're really genuine with that. And it's not just words. I think day in and day out, you can see us put our culture and our mission and our values into practice across our local communities.
Love it. So one recurring segment that we have on this show is I want to dive a little bit more into you and kind of what makes you run, kind of what makes you have this high motor for this business, by diving into a couple of personal topics, if you're good with that.
Fire away. Let's do it.
Cool. So first question is, if you were to go back and look at, yourself, let's say, between 10 and 20 years ago, and you found an individual as you are now that is getting ready to pursue that pathway that you had walked down, what is some advice that you would give to them retrospectively that you've learned that you feel like would be helpful for them?
I would say if one thing I've learned through my career is you can't underemphasize the importance of relationships, right? I work in the automotive field. It is a global business. I will tell you right now, it's a really small pond in automotive. And to be able to connect and align yourselves with individuals that can help you grow your career. In some individuals I haven't seen in 10 years, and I'll run into them again and they're at a new company, right? But it's really key, the relationship side. So I would stress to that young Max or that young individual, the importance of really having an open mind and valuing those relationships. You could be really good in practice of, okay, if you do PR, you're good at writing, you're good at wordsmithing, you can follow theory and law and how to produce. But that's not really real life, right? The real life is the relationship side of it. It's the connections you make in the industry. So the importance of job shadowing and internships, which if I looked back 15 years ago, I think I signed up for an internship to check the box, right, to get my credit and to move on. And then I see like an internship program that we have at LaFontaine. I'm like, oh my gosh, if I would have just had that opportunity to better immerse myself into that field, I can't imagine what would have happened then to get to where I am now. But I would say that the relationship is huge, and do something that you love, right? I think we started this conversation with, I've loved automotive my whole life. Still to this day, I find myself, ooling over a new vehicle that comes out and wanting to learn more. And I get excited every day to come to work. And I would say to that individual, find that passion. Because it truly doesn't seem like work anymore. It makes the bad days not so bad and the good days even better when I genuinely love what I do in the industry that I'm in.
Love it. Second question is, what is one thing that you do outside of work to unwind, to relax? What's one of your hobbies?
So I think my two little daughters keep me pretty busy, which is really fun. I absolutely love being a dad and a girl dad at that, right? I absolutely love it. As of late, we welcomed a new puppy into our household. So that's actually, as much as I would say that the puppy adds stress, for me, the puppy is a de-stressor because we get to go for a lot of walks.
Okay.
So I think for me, grabbing the leash and taking the puppy for a walk with my daughters or without them is I love the fresh air. But also I'm an avid golfer. So I would tell you that grabbing the set of sticks and teeing it up with my dad or a good buddy on the weekend is also a great way to unwind, on top of, visiting car shows and off-roading events. It's inside and outside of work. Something is revolving around automotive for me. So.
Okay. And now, what kind of dog did you get?
We got a French Mastiff, so he'll be a big boy. So remember Turner and Hooch at all? So I got Hooch. Yeah. So
gotcha.
He's a big, be about 200 pounds, and he'll be a big lovable buddy.
Yeah, my kids recently discovered the Turner and Hooch show on Disney Plus, and now they also want a Hooch, and we're like, I don't know.
I can bring them. I'll just bring them by, and they'll probably either quickly fall in love with them, or when you tell them that you have to like have a mouth towel to wipe his drool off after he eats and drinks. And
yeah, they were excited about that. They were like, he seems like a fun, messy dog, and I was like, well, I don't know about fun, but
we've had big dogs at an English Mastiff before. I think once you have big dogs, you just stick with the breed, and it allows me to not have to go on a diet because I keep telling my wife that the dog can't weigh more than me. So I need to keep a little cushion around the sides because the dog can't weigh more than me. So.
Yeah, you got to put the dog in its place.
That's
Can't
right.
do that if it's bigger than you are. And the third question is, what is currently your favorite piece of technology?
Oh man, that's a really good question.
Apart from all the other ones I asked.
Yeah,
today.
no, I'm thinking because like I had an answer right away for those ones, and then this one I really need. I need to think. I guess I'm going to spin that question. My favorite piece of technology is now watching my daughters utilize technology in a way that's absolutely mind-blowing to me. That they can grab an iPad or an iPhone and at 3 years old, click and navigate around and get to their app. And like last night, I thought my 5-year-old daughter was just playing on her iPad. And I said, hey, what are you up to? And she saw, I'm doing schoolwork right now. And I walked by and she's doing this math addition game and she's getting tokens and points. And then lo and behold, she gets a message from the teacher through the app and great job, Molly. And I'm like, wow, that's amazing, right? To me is watching how they utilize technology is fun at that young age where, right, I think you would think Alexa lives in our house as a person because the amount of times they yell, Alexa, play this song, Alexa, turn this on, right? And to me, I think that's what I get excited about. I haven't had a new piece of technology in a while, right? The phone's a few years old. I could easily default to an automotive analogy, right? That I get enamored by all the new technology coming out in vehicles. Was recently driving a car and uses gesture control, right, to control the stereo. So you don't press physical buttons. You literally wave your hand in certain directions at the screen, turns the volume up, the volume down, seeks for you. So that was engaging enough to me. I also talk with my hands, so I realized that technology probably isn't the best thing for me to utilize.
If you have road rage, it's like, well, what signal is that for?
Hold on, what just happened here all of a sudden? So, but I think, my answer is truly watching my daughters utilize technology. It's something, right? I would venture to say that you and I both did not have growing up, right? And I think that, wow, at this age, fast forward for them, right, to my age now, like, where's the technology going to take them?
Right. Yeah. We talk about a different show that I do. We talk about, technology, especially on the marketing side of things all the time, and how intuitive it is and how deeply complex it is, but how simple it is for even, as you mentioned, children to pick it up and be able to operate it quite sufficiently without much much guidance needed.
They got my iPhone password down pat at 3 years old. She knows right away. So, but that makes me fun because they get excited about it. Right. I mean, focus a lot around my daughters. I'm a real proud dad, and I love watching them. So
that's cool. Well, Max, I appreciate your time today. I appreciate you walking me through everything LaFontaine, and I appreciate your excitement and your enthusiasm around the brand and where you guys are heading over the next, even the next 5 years is going to be really exciting to watch.
No, I truly appreciate the time, the conversation today. Would be remiss if I didn't thank the Brighton Chamber for this opportunity and all the opportunities they provided our company, both in the community and in the future as well. So a great partner to us. Shameless plug, would encourage other business owners listening to join their local chamber association. A lot of value you can get out of there connecting with other business owners. But first and foremost, Rob, appreciate the time today.
Thank you, sir. Absolutely. And I'll second your comments on the Brighton Chamber. They do a phenomenal job. Pam runs a tight ship over there. So it's phenomenal.
Thank you again.
Thank you, sir. All right, friends. Well, that is going to wrap up this week's edition of the Chamber Podcast. I appreciate you all watching. If you want to know more about LaFontaine, you can check out our show notes. All of the details on their website are going to be there for you to take a look at. Thanks so much for watching. We'll catch you next week. Take care.